you can't easily know it. And one of the difficulties with this effort that we're into right now to reuse it and re-envision it is that unless you have a model of it and you explain that there's a 5-mile watershed and a stream that does the following stuff at this time of the year and so forth, it's very hard to comprehend what it actually is. I mean, it goes under the highway system, it goes by the giant slag, and yet it comes out of this kind of wetland at the bottom of Frick Park in a valley. And I don't think most people really comprehend what it is. And it certainly is different than it was 100 years ago, 75 years ago. So one of the early problems is just to grasp it physically, aesthetically, intellectually, and explain what it is. And I don't think most people can do that easily.
It had been a few years since slag had been dumped when I was first in, but I was absolutely amazed and just fascinated by it because it's like another planet. It doesn't look like the Earth. It doesn't look like the real world. The soil, the topography, the vegetation, and it was exciting at first. The first time I actually wandered about, I went about the top part of the slag heaps and would walk over and look down the edges and look into the canyons. And I remember one of them having a burned out car in what appeared to be a crater. And I wasn't even sure how people got cars into it at that point. And since then I've seen quite a few abandoned cars. I think that's stopped now. But I would tell people about it, and some people were fascinated and really wanted to go in and see it, and other people have no interest in it. Some have no interest, and some are almost fearful because it's so foreign. It's not like anything on Earth that you would ever see.
There were just big mountains of the stuff. The top wasn't as flat as it is now. It used to be they built a big mountain, and then they built another big mountain, and another big mountain, and another big mountain, and then they started filling in the spaces between the mountains. And one area between 3 of them was just a big hole in the ground. It was so deep that you'd see truck tires that looked like Cheerios at the bottom. It was about a 3-block walk to go all the way around the top. It was a very big hole. And sometimes you look down and you see hawks flying around. Cars down there burnt out. Whenever a car was on fire down there, the fire department would come up and they would look down at it and they'd write out a slip of paper and throw it down the hole and get back in the truck and drive away because it's too dangerous for them to go down and put her out, and it wasn't going to do any damage this time, so they just drove away.
I remember when they poured the slag because, well, they would bring trucks in and just dump it, but what we would have is we would have the graphite. We would have that silver dust all over our windowsills and all. You would have so much dirt, even in your house, like on that floor, which is dirty, dusty now. I mean, you would have like about 1/4 of an inch, well, maybe not that much, but you would actually see the graphite. You could see that silver graphite coming in your windows. In those days, you didn't have central air and all. You had to leave all your windows open to just stay cool in the summer, and you would just get so much dirt. It was like really bad. But the trucks would just come from Homestead, from the mills or wherever, and dump. We tried to prevent that. We tried to stop it, but it didn't work. Not me, but the people that lived here, they didn't want that. They didn't want to see that slag there, but they kept building it and building and building it till that's how high it is now.
I also thought of the movie Alice's Restaurant when I first saw it. I remember, it was just very vivid. I remember the part at Alice's Restaurant when Arlo Guthrie takes the garbage to New York City to dump it and takes it and puts it on a barge. And throughout the rest of the movie, I kept whispering to the person next to me, Why would they do that? I had no idea that garbage was dumped into the ocean, and I couldn't imagine, and this was in the early 70s, I couldn't imagine anyone even thinking of doing it. And I couldn't imagine that people thought that it was all right to do that. And I have that same sense with the slag heaps, that I can't imagine what kind of a mind would dream it up, and I can't imagine that it was perfectly legal to basically fill in a valley, fill in a stream bed to the point where the stream has nowhere to go, and just leave it there.
You know, Dave and I were, I suppose, unusual because we kind of admired the slag dump. It's a nice thing. Seems a shame to lose it. But you're going to lose it even if they don't put houses up there, because we noticed that when you drive by it now, it's being covered with vegetation. Another 50 years and just be over, if nothing else happened, it would just be overgrown. It'd be like another forest in another grass-covered area. So it would lose its character.
The history of 9 Mile Run provides a classic example of a clash between those who held values of utilitarianism and those who focused on the preservation of areas of natural beauty for use as urban recreational facilities. 9 Mile Run and its watershed area form a natural drainage basin of the Monongahela River. The watershed has a land area of approximately 7.5 square miles. During the 19th century, portions of the lower valley had been used for farming, as a salt works, the location for several natural gas wells, and as a golf course. While the lower valley leading to the Monongahela was relatively undeveloped as of 1910, the boroughs of Swissvale, Wilkinsburg, and Edgewood placed portions of 9 Mile Run into culverts to accommodate development. During the early part of this century, Pittsburgh underwent a period of civic reform. As part of this process, in 1910, Frederick Law Olmsted Jr., son of the famous landscape designer, prepared a report for the Pittsburgh Civic Commission. In this report, Olmsted Jr. is quoted as saying, "Perhaps the most striking opportunity noted for a large park is the valley of 9 Mile Run. Its long meadows of varying width would make ideal playfields. The stream, when it is freed from sewage, will be an attractive and interesting element in the landscape. The wooded slopes on either side give ample opportunity for enjoyment of the forest, for cool walks and resting places. Above all, it is not far from a large working population in Hazelwood, Homestead, Rankin, Swissvale, Edgewood, Wilkinsburg, Brushton, and Homewood. And yet, it is so excluded by its high wooded banks that the close proximity of urban development can hardly be imagined. The entire valley should be included, for upon the preservation of these wooded banks depends much of the real value of the park." Unfortunately, no action was taken on his proposal. In 1923, another group of Pittsburgh elites produced a series of 6 reports called the Citizens Committee on Civic Plan. The committee proposed the development of 9 Mile Run as a waterfront park with a range of recreational facilities. And like Olmsted's recommendation, this one was never implemented. In fact, in 1922, the Duquesne Slag Company, which had purchased 94 acres in the valley, began filling it with slag from the neighboring steel mills. Protests over the years about the firm's dumping activity, primarily by the Swiss Elm Park Civic Association, had little effect in reducing the dumping. By 1972, when slag dumping ceased, approximately 17 million cubic yards of slag filled the valley.